start this party with a bang!
Welcome back to the channel. It is time to do another tier list. Since we have the Batman coming out next week, I figured now is as good a time as any to talk about the villains of the Batman movies. Now, I do have a video that is kind of a companion to this where we talk about the Batman villains featured in the animated series. You can check that out at the card above. But today we are specifically going to be talking about the live-action Batman villains. No more wasting time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get to the tier list. We're going to start off with the 1966 Batman movie, which is going to have 4 different villains for us. We're going to start with Cesar Romero as the Joker. It makes sense to start with the Joker, right? Because the Joker is going to show up the most out of any one bad guy on this list. And, oh gosh, I'm so torn on Cesar Romero because, like, the guy, he gives it his all in, like, the performance, right? He is having a blast and he's just all in. But at the same time, he doesn't give it enough care to, like, shave his mustache, right? That's not something that would happen nowadays. You look at Cesar Romero, his mustache is there. It's just painted white over it. And so it's going to knock him down a little bit. I think I'm going to put Cesar Romero's Joker at a C. He's not, like, he's not bad. Definitely don't hate him, but he just, I don't know, just like the show in general and this movie, just way over the top and maybe too much so. Now, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin is also crazy and over the top, but I think he's giving, like, a commitment that we're not seeing from Cesar Romero. He is, he's got a voice that works. He's got the laugh that I think is fantastic. Constantly got that cigarette in his mouth, and he's got his umbrellas. He flies on a giant umbrella in this movie. This guy is just out of control, but in all of the right ways. I'm going to say he's B. We're going to give B tier to Burgess Meredith. Frank Gorshin, as of right now, might be my favorite Riddler that we've seen live action. He is... It's kind of crazy when you can look at the 66 Batman and say it's not the craziest version of anything that is going on, right? And the fact that Jim Carrey's Riddler in Batman Forever back in 1995, when it's going to come out, is crazier than this version of it. And this one is also actually doing a lot more riddles. Like, that's a bigger thing, not just like little pieces to solving like the big puzzle. I think I'm going to go a B, still, but higher B than the Penguin. Lee Meriwether, though, as Catwoman, not my favorite Catwoman in like the entire 66 Batman series or the 60s Batman show. Like the recast Catwoman a bunch. Eartha Kitt, I think, is going to be my favorite Catwoman. I think I'd have to get her down to no, I can't go D because it's not like aggressively bad, right? So we'll go lower C, lower than the Joker. It feels bad to have Joker in C and Catwoman there too, but it would feel wrong, I think, to have them any higher. So I'm happy here moving forward into the 80s, which is where we're going to find Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And this is going to be the one to beat for me. S tier. Joker, played by Jack Nicholson, is just, I've said this in some videos in the past. He's just that perfect balance of crazy, but then put together and like having his plan, not too much one way or the other, right? Some other Jokers are, I think too put together in like how much they are getting things planned out. And sure, he's supposed to be like a super genius and all of this stuff, but I don't know. I just like this version. I also like that it has the chemistry background, and that kind of explains why he's able to make these chemicals that are affecting the people of Gotham in the way that they are. Jack Nicholson is just one of the best actors, right? Just best actors ever. And because of that, when he comes in is giving his all in a performance like I believe he is here, because he was super invested because of how much money he was making. Like, he got a percentage of like everything Batman for a long time, if not still to this day. And so he wanted it to be big. And so he did everything he could to make that happen. And the Joker in this movie just is fantastic. And not to like just say it's just the performance. The look, the costume, it's all great. And I no hesitation putting him in S tier. Danny DeVito as the Penguin is going to easily be A tier. He's not like my favorite version of the character, right? Like that kind of the Penguin and really it's the only time I can think of where the Penguin is really portrayed in this way at all, as a gross, disgusting sewer orphan raised by penguins. And he's usually, the higher class criminal, like crime boss guy. And so he kind of has some things like that. And again, not to say that should be why he gets knocked down. It's just what knocks him down from S to A for me, because I love Danny DeVito in this role. He is, like I said, super gross. The things that he's doing in this movie and the way that he looks and it portrays himself and the way he talks and just interacts with people, you can tell that he just doesn't have that, human interaction like built up. Like, he doesn't know how to do it. And he does a great job at showing that. Again, Danny DeVito is a great actor, which I think is something that people forget, especially with the fact that, he's had this whole resurgence now just being on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like a comedy show, and he's doing crazy stuff in that show. But like we can forget, how good of an actor he is. But as good as he is not even the best villain in Batman Returns that came out in 1992. Catwoman is an S tier. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Again, this is kind of a different play on the character than we get in a lot of ways, but whereas that kind of knocked it down for me with Danny DeVito, I enjoy this version of the character, this kind of like put upon secretary who gets this second chance to get revenge on her boss who just completely wronged her. And it's great. She's great. Like Michelle Pfeiffer, I don't know. The costume is fantastic. Her physicality is top notch. The things that she's doing stunt wise, like even her personally, like I mentioned in my last video, that she is the one who's doing like a lot of this stuff with the whip, like in the high heels, like using her whip as a jump rope and then using the whip to then whip the heads off of mannequins. The fact that she's actually doing that really adds to the character. Plus the musical score that goes along with her character in the movie is superb. And, and it's not her personally doing that, but it really just adds to the character in the movie. And I love it when Batman is conflicted with how he feels about Catwoman. And he's very conflicted here in this movie. He wants to, stop her from doing what it is she's out to do. But at the same time, he really, really likes her. And so it adds a good conflict. Now, though Max Schreck doesn't really show up in the comic books, at least not to my knowledge, I do want to make sure and put him on this list because Christopher Walken as Max Schreck is really kind of like maybe the most despicable person in Batman Returns. Like the things that he's trying to do and how he's trying to do them and who he's manipulating and how he's just putting everybody against each other is just very well done. Christopher Walken, again, man, they get good actors for these movies, right? They don't get people who don't have like a full body of work behind them and credentials. And Christopher Walken is exactly like, Danny DeVito and like Jack Nicholson, and in that he is somebody who is just super good. And he is super good in this. He is over the top and cheesy and just a real scumbag. But those things all work perfectly in this movie and in this part. And I think I'm going to have to put him in A tier right below Danny DeVito, though, because even though he is, story-wise, maybe more driving what's going on, he's just not quite as memorable as Danny DeVito, like biting some guy's nose off or eating a fish that's raw. So now we get to a tough one for me because I like Tommy Lee Jones a whole lot. Just mentioning actors who are very good. And he is very good most of the time. In this role, it's just so odd. Like, it just doesn't even really feel like he kind of wants to be there at times. But then at the same time, he's still giving it a lot of effort. There are moments when I really buy him as Two-Face. Like when he jumps out of the helicopter right before it crashes into like the Statue of Liberty or Lady Gotham. His delivery on the line, "Have the good taste to die." See ya. Just sells it for me. He's a comic book villain here, and he's always fighting Batman, and he sells that better than I think maybe anybody. I'm looking at it, I think better than anybody in any of these movies. This person who is just tired of having to deal with Batman, because I think out of everybody here, he's had to deal with Batman the most, and he's been stopped by Batman here and there, and for at least 2 years, he's been having to put up with all of that. Why can't you just die? But there are just times where the character just does not work for me. He's just too crazy, right? He's just really over the top and animated in ways that it feels unnatural to see Tommy Lee Jones, but also it feels like a bit of a stretch for the character. It's inconsistent in ways that, kind of make it, I don't know, to say hard to follow, but hard to get invested in for him. So I think I'm going to put him at a D, and it doesn't feel bad. Like, he's not a good Two-Face, but it isn't evil, right? It isn't bad. I don't hate it. The same is going to go for the Riddler. I'm going to put him in D tier also. Jim Carrey as the Riddler. You know what? I'm going to bump him up to C tier just because of like the transformation we get to see. It's kind of weird that like he's more put together and everything once he is the Riddler than when he was Edward Nygma. But hey, I guess people watched this enough and liked it enough that they saw it and said, hey, let's just make Jamie Foxx that in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because it's the exact same character and exact same story. He gets to have a bunch of different costume changes, right? He's got like the bodysuit. He's got this like a regular suit and tie. He has like the weird white sparkly suit that he wears at the end of the movie. Like, Joel Schumacher just goes all out in his 2 Batman movies, and I do appreciate it. I definitely I watched this movie last week, and I appreciated it a lot more than I did the last time that I watched it. It's a good time, but when it comes to like these characters specifically, it's kind of just, I don't know, for me, not the best. And then unfortunately, we're going to be keeping this kind of low ratings going with Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's going to be below. That hurts me to do. Like, that one, that stings. But again, it would feel wrong to put it any higher. He's just so miscast. I think he would have been a great Bane, but instead we get him as Mr. Freeze. Yeah, it's just not good. He's got awful lines, which aren't Arnold's fault. He didn't write the script, but they're there, and that's the character. He does still have the right motivation when it comes to like his wife who is dying from McGregor syndrome in the movie, and a made-up disease, right? Oh goodness, I better make sure McGregor syndrome isn't real. Okay, the first couple results are just diseases. It's just stuff on the Batman wiki, so I think we're okay. But then physically and stuff, like, it just doesn't like feel genuine is, I think, the big thing. But yeah, again, I think he would have been a great Bane, not a great Mr. Freeze. And then it's sad to say that, in my opinion, he is the best villain to come out of Batman and Robin, because Uma Thurman is going to be, I'm going to keep her in D tier also, not quite get to F, because like she does kind of have the characteristics of it down. Like, again, that's the writing, not so much Uma Thurman. She's playing it camp over the top. Again, don't blame her for that either. That's a director thing. And then even that, is that a director thing? Is it a studio thing? Who knows who to blame for this? All I know is it's very, very odd. The pairing of Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy is an odd pairing. And then the worst of the three, and my first F villain, is going to be Bane from Batman and Robin. He is supposed to be a smart, put together guy who figures out who Batman is before he even shows up in Gotham City. But in the movie, we get a guy who can barely say like 2 words in a row. And it just is a real shame. We get a better version of him later, and we will talk about that in a bit. But this version of Bane is definitely a letdown. The only positives that it has going for it are just how big the guy playing him actually is. And unfortunately, that's going to be the end of like the campy, colorful, fun characters that we're going to be rating. And because we're going to be moving into the Christopher Nolan universe, which I like a lot. I do like these characters. I do like these movies. And let's just see where they land. Carmine Falcone is next up. He's just like a mob guy. He's pretty boring. He's there to serve as, the kind of like the in between. Like, we're going from the crime boss stuff, mafia stuff, to these super villains, and he's the guy we got to get through to get to the more interesting people. Gosh, I think I'll put him in, but he is well acted. I'll put him below Jim Carrey as the Riddler because he's not as intimidating as he is in the comics. Like, to me, like when I'm thinking back to The Long Halloween, Falcone is like an intimidating person physically. Like, he's a bigger guy, and that doesn't come across in the movie at all. And then the whole like kind of mafioso guy that he is really kind of a caricature also. And so it just not a lot of depth to this character. So the big bad of the movie we're talking about right now, Batman Begins, is Ra's al Ghul. And, or in the movie they call him Ra's al Ghul. And that just throws me for a loop because the cartoon is very distinctly Ra's al Ghul. And then in the movie it's very much Ra's al Ghul. Because you get Batman going, Ra's al Ghul is dead. But the first person that we meet as Ra's al Ghul is not the real version of him. He's like a decoy. And because of that, he's nothing, right? And it's kind of a waste of our great actor here, Ken Watanabe. But it does, kind of work for the movie, like the reveal. But when it comes to like just the actual character, it's nice to find out that they didn't actually kill Ra's al Ghul in like the first 10 minutes that he's on screen. So I'm going to put him in the top of D tier. It's good that he wasn't the real one, but it's still him as we see him. It's not great. Now, the real Ra's al Ghul is played by Liam Neeson. He goes by the name Ducard earlier in the movie when he's hiding his identity. And he is good. He's very good. I'm going to put him up in A tier. I'm going to go below Danny DeVito, though, as the Penguin. He's got motivation, right? You know why he's doing what he's doing. You don't have to agree with what he's doing. The fact that he wants to kill everybody in Gotham City so that everything will kind of start over. But you do understand why he is doing it. And so that's nice. That's not something we've had in a Batman movie for a long time at that point. He's physically like a threat to Batman, which is nice also. Again, not something that always happens. And it's cool to see him in the different kind of roles that he's playing. When he's playing Ducard and he is, playing this kind of like second in command guy. But then when he really shows up and is who he really is Ra's al Ghul, it's cool to see him in that much control and everything. And he gets really close to finishing his plan, but Batman stops him, right at the last second. Cillian Murphy is the only Batman villain to feature in all three in 3 movies at all. He shows up in Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, and he's great. I think that it's a good take on the character. It's not as fun as some versions of the character, but again, it fits in with what the movie is doing. I think that he is easily top of B tier, just because we actually get to see him kind of develop. I like that. I like that he's still kind of doing his own little things at the beginning of The Dark Knight, like doing these drug deals and everything. And I just like it when it seems like Batman has this ongoing relationship with these villains, and we really get that with him. Victor Zsasz is the last villain from Batman Begins, and for me, he's low. Victor Zsasz in general is low. He, guys, just is a serial killer, and every time he kills somebody, he like does a tally mark on his body, and I don't know. It's just kind of boring. It's the kind of guy Batman takes out at the beginning of a story so that you can find out that something crazy is going on. And yeah, I'm going to put him in F tier, right above Bane. Now, I did forget to mention this earlier, but in this tier list, we're just going to be talking about people that Batman actually interacts with in movies. And so we're not going to be hitting on Joaquin Phoenix's Joker or Deathstroke because, you know, Batman doesn't fight those guys or even like have any kind of scenes with them. And so just want to make sure and point that out. Now, somebody Batman definitely has scenes with and definitely interacts with is our main antagonist of The Dark Knight. And that is the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker. And like, this is almost more than who's your favorite Batman, who's your favorite Joker has become, I don't know, maybe the harder one to answer. And for me, I don't know if it's because of just how it's been tainted by everything online afterwards.
I'm the Joker, baby!
But Heath Ledger's performance, though it is fantastic, and he's just really kind of transformed, I don't know, just movie villains in general with his performance. It's not quite as good as Jack Nicholson for me personally. Feel free to hate me in the comments for that one. But he is definitely S tier. I'm going to put him up there. I mean, like, just think about like how like James Bond villains are like that. Like, I can just think specifically of Khan in the Star Trek movie is acting like the Joker and having the same plan as the Joker. And you have the bad guy in Skyfall is the same plan as the Joker. And it's just kind of like, it's everywhere. It got to the point where every bad guy was just having a million little details in their plans that were going to happen perfectly so they could get what they wanted. And it makes sense with the Joker because, again, he's supposed to be super smart and be able to like put together these kinds of plans. And, you know, and he's just derailed enough. He's super fun to watch. It really is like a crazy good performance and definitely deserved the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, though, of course, we all wish it was under better circumstances that that was given. Well, I guess to his family, not to him. And so I hope that people don't take too much offense to me putting him in second place. Salvatore Maroni is like kind of the replacement for Falcone in the second one of the Nolan movies. And he's got some lines that have some really funny deliveries.
No stuff of lights, cops, nothing. It was Ramirez.
Eric Roberts is, you know, he's fine. But, I don't know. He just doesn't really do it for me. I'm going to put him in... I'll put him in D tier. I'm going to go right here. Now, Aaron Eckhart gives a great performance as Harvey Dent throughout the entirety of The Dark Knight, including once he finally becomes Two-Face. And he doesn't get a lot of screen time. He's just there at the end and is definitely just a puppet of the Joker. But again, it all makes sense for what's going on in the movie. Do I wish that he was still around? Of course. Just like I was saying in my Star Wars Visions video, I like it when we have the possibility of stories, right? And there are no possibilities for other Two-Face stories. This is the Two-Face story in this universe, which, again, works fine for the movie. His performance is very good. I was going to say subtle, but then thinking about it, it's not like very subtle at all. I appreciate knowing his motivations, knowing what he wants, understanding, though not necessarily, again, agreeing with what he's doing, but understanding why he's doing what he's doing. And then the visual effects on him are just great. The shot where he wipes the drink off of his chin after it spills out the hole in his face is just so good. I have no problem putting him in A tier. I'm going to put him below Max Schreck just because he's not, I don't know, fun like to watch because it's how depressing. But again, that's kind of like saying that his performance is even better because it's not really supposed to be fun. Now, in the same way that the Joker kind of took on a life of its own online, Bane also did. People did the voice a ton.
This is the instrument of your liberation.
There are still times where me and my friends will every once in a while just pull out the Bane voice, and it's never good. I'm not good. We're never good at doing the Bane voice, but it just happens from time to time. The Christopher Nolan movies, though they are more grounded, really do have some silly voices in them. I do appreciate that Bane in this movie is a lot closer to the Bane that we see in the comics, though it is kind of unfortunate when, spoilers, we find out he's not actually the boss. He's just kind of the second in command to Talia al Ghul, played by Marion Cotillard. Tom Hardy, though, is like super scary in this part. He's a monster. He is just so big, though not tall. Not his fault, but he is a tank. I like his fuzzy jacket. I think that's worth mentioning. And I like that they do beat him in ways that it's fun to beat Bane, right? You take his mask out of commission, or like his whatever it is that's helping him do the things he's doing. Usually it's the venom that's pumping him up and making him all juiced out. But here it's like breaking the mask so that way he's still feeling the pain from all the injuries that he has. I feel good about putting Bane at the bottom of B tier. Again, he's good, but nothing too spectacular. He's got some good scenes though at the football field, guys. When he breaks Batman's back, pretty awesome. Catwoman, or the Cat, as they were calling her on the Wikipedia page, played by Anne Hathaway, is maybe a tough one for me to think about because I don't know, she's definitely Catwoman, right? She is doing Catwoman stuff, stealing things, getting tangled up with Batman, ending up doing the right thing. All good Catwoman story stuff. But I don't know, there's just something about it that isn't clicking quite as much as I want it to. She's going to land at B tier. I'm going to put her below Bane. But she's just, I don't know if it's like to say uninteresting. I was going to say boring, but boring sounds mean. Like, she just doesn't have a ton going on. That movie is crazy too. There's just so much in The Dark Knight Rises. But I think that that's a decent spot for her. She does a good job. Really does. But just nothing phenomenal. There's no way she's better than Michelle Pfeiffer. Anybody who says that she is out of their mind. So let me know in the comments below if you are out of your mind. It's going to be tough not to put Marion Cotillard as Talia al Ghul in F tier just because of her death scene. Because her death scene is really bad. And then it hurts that we don't have a ton of time with her actually being a bad guy. She is like a twist villain. I don't think she's going to quite make it to F tier though. She's kind of, I'll go middle of D tier. She's boring. It should have just been Bane being the bad guy. That's all I got to say about that. And then that is going to get us to the Ben Affleck Batman stuff. And so here is where we got to just acknowledge the fact that Ben Affleck does not have his own Batman movie. The only movie that has Batman in the title, or any name that Batman goes by in the title, is Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. And in that, he only really fights one Batman villain, and that's KG Beast, who he blows up It's when he's saving Superman's mom. I don't know if you know this, but Superman and Batman's moms are both named Martha. They kind of make a big deal about it in that movie. But this guy is nothing. I do like this actor. He's also in like Winter Soldier and everything. He's got a good face, a good memorable face. But KG Beast is not good, and I'm actually going to put him in F tier. Now, I do not like Jared Leto as the Joker at all. I think he's, I don't know to say miscast is, I don't know, because Jared Leto can act, and so is it his fault? Is it Zack Snyder's fault? I don't know. I don't know whose fault it is. All I know is I don't like it. I think it might be just like a gut reaction to put it all the way down in F tier, though. Let's try to be fair. I'm going to go D tier. Now, Batman fights the Joker in like a flashback. That's pretty much it in Suicide Squad. Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie is great as the character. We don't get a ton of her as a Batman villain. So I don't really know how to rank her. I'm probably just going to put her in C tier as a Batman villain, because she's only a Batman villain in Suicide Squad in a flashback again. And like, that's it. Besides that, she's part of the Suicide Squad. And yeah, I'll put her in C. Just kind of that no man's land there in the middle. Not meant to be a dig at Margot Robbie. I think she's really good. I like Harley Quinn. But as a Batman villain, she's almost like a non-entity. But man, the Suicide Squad that came out last year, that movie's awesome. Love it. And then lastly, another kind of just one scene person with Batman, and that is Deadshot, Will Smith's character from Suicide Squad. And I think he'll go above, I'll put him right there in D tier, because he is effective as the character, but when it comes to fighting Batman, he gets beat so easy. And I understand Batman's jumping him when his little daughter is there with him, so it's not like he's decked out and everything. But Batman just kind of jumps in. He's like, hey, come on. Like, sorry, but you got to go to jail because you're killing people. And he's just like, okay, I go to jail now because I don't want to kill Batman in front of my daughter. But yeah, again, as a character, he's better than he is as a Batman villain. So that's where I will sit with that. And that is the entire tier list. I love Batman. You guys, I don't like it when bad Batman stuff comes out. And I'm so excited to see The Batman in just a couple of days. I'm going to go see it on Tuesday. And I'm looking forward to that. And I'll have a review out for that as soon as I can. So watch the channel for that. Why don't you subscribe so you can have it show up in your feed. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment below. Let me know who your favorite Batman villain is that's been in the live action movies. Don't forget to check back again next week when we will have some more videos for you. Until then, take care.